Hey everyone, today we're going to build the ultimate playbook for modern leadership. We're going to unpack some of the most powerful models out there and turn all that theory into a guide you can actually use, something to really level up your impact. All right, let's get into it. It's the question we always come back to, isn't it? Is it about having authority or is it about real influence? Is it a title you have or is it the actions you take? We're going to skip the cliches and get right to the heart of what makes leadership actually work in the real world. The messy, fast-paced world we all live in. So here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off with a foundational spectrum of leadership styles, and then we'll jump into the concrete actions every great leader takes. From there, we'll explore a really powerful people-first mindset, learn how to lead when the path forward is anything but clear, and then finally, we'll bring it all together. Let's start building that playbook. Okay, first up, let's set the baseline. Pretty much all modern leadership theory is built on this one big distinction between two fundamental approaches, transactional and transformational. And honestly, just understanding where you might naturally fall on this spectrum, that's the first key to unlocking your potential. At its core, the difference is actually pretty simple. A transactional leader operates on a clear exchange. You do this for me, you get that in return. It's all about managing tasks and getting specific outcomes. But a transformational leader, they're on a totally different level. They connect the work to a greater purpose, inspiring people to invest themselves, not just clock in and out. Now, what's so interesting here is how this breaks down the day-to-day differences. Just look at that focus row. The transactional leader is a master of the current system. They bring stability, they bring clarity, but the transformational leader, they're focused on building whatever is next. They're the change agent. And here's the key takeaway. One isn't better than the other. A crisis might demand a very transactional approach just to get things done, while a huge company pivot needs that transformational vision. They're just different tools for different jobs. Okay, so we've got the theory down, but what does great leadership actually look like when the rubber meets the road? That's what this next play is all about, moving from these abstract styles to tangible, everyday actions. And this model comes from decades of incredible research by Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. These 5 practices are absolute gold. Why? Because they aren't personality traits. They're behaviors you can see and learn. Which means leadership isn't some mystical gift you're born with. It's a skill you can actually build. And while all 5 are critical, like challenging the process to innovate or enabling others by building trust and encouraging the heart to celebrate wins, we're going to zoom in on the 2 that are the absolute bedrock of it all. This right here is the essence of Model the Way. It sounds so simple, but it is everything. I mean, think about it. Your credibility as a leader lives or dies on this one principle. If there's a gap between what you say and what you do, all the inspiring vision statements in the world won't mean a thing. It's about being the living, breathing example of the standards you set for everyone else. And this is how you actually make it real. It's living your values out loud every single day. But check out that last bullet point. It's also about having the humility to ask your team, hey, how is what I'm doing landing with you? That one question, that single act, builds an absolute fortress of trust. All right, let's move to the next practice and see how this all connects. Inspire a shared vision. So if modeling the way builds trust in the present, well, inspiring a vision builds excitement for the future. Your job as a leader is to climb that hill, see what's over the horizon, and then come back and paint a picture so compelling that everyone wants to make that journey with you. This is all about being the chief storyteller. You connect the daily grind to a much grander purpose. And just notice the language here. Compelling image, big picture, genuine conviction. This is not about reciting some dry mission statement off a plaque on the wall. It's about lighting a fire and making people feel like they are part of a story that truly matters. So those practices are all about what leaders do. But what about the why? What's the core philosophy that's driving all those actions? Well, that brings us to our next play in the book, a really profound shift in how we even think about leadership, and it's called the servant leader. Just let that sink in for a second. It completely flips the traditional power pyramid on its head. The team doesn't exist to serve the leader exists to serve the team. Their main question isn't, what can you do for me, but how can I help you succeed? They focus on knocking down obstacles, getting resources, and championing their people's growth. And these qualities are the engine that makes the whole thing run. It is no accident that listening and empathy are right there at the top. A servant leader always tries to understand before they try to direct. They genuinely want to connect with their team's perspective. And stewardship.
That's this powerful idea that you're a caretaker, that you're responsible for leaving the organization and its people better than you found them. It's a deeply human-centered approach to leading. Okay, so what happens when the problem you're facing is super complex, the path forward is totally foggy, and there's no expert you can just call up for a ready-made answer? Well, welcome to the advanced section of the playbook, Leading Through Adaptive Change.
Now, this is so important. This is not a technical problem. Fixing a software bug, that's technical. An expert can come in and solve it. But shifting an entire company's culture from being risk-averse to being innovative, that is an adaptive challenge. The leader doesn't have the solution. Their job is to create an environment where the group can discover it together. And this slide just makes that distinction crystal clear. For a technical problem, everything is known. But look at that adaptive column. The problem itself, the solution, and who does the work all require learning. This is a massive shift in responsibility, from the leader as the hero who has all the answers, to the leader as the host of a really difficult but necessary conversation.
So how on earth do you lead in a space that's so ambiguous? Well, you start with this really powerful metaphor. The dance floor is the chaos of everyday work and meetings. To lead, you have to force yourself to periodically step away from all that action and get on the balcony. From up there, you can see the bigger patterns. Who's talking to who? What unspoken issues are driving the behaviors? You simply can't see the whole system when you're stuck in one corner of the dance floor.
And from that balcony view, you use this simple, disciplined cycle. You have to resist the urge to just react. First, you just observe what's actually happening. Then you form a hypothesis. You interpret what you think the underlying dynamics are. And only after that do you design a thoughtful intervention, which is often just a question or a small experiment, to test your theory and help the group learn its way forward. Wow, we've covered a ton of ground, from broad styles and concrete behaviors, all the way to deep mindsets and navigating total ambiguity. So let's land the plane and figure out how to actually put all of this to work. This is the question everybody asks, right? Should I be a transformational leader or a servant leader? Which one is the silver bullet that's going to guarantee success?
And the powerful truth is, there is no single best model. Great leadership isn't about committing to just one dogma. It's about building a versatile playbook. You might need a transactional focus to hit a critical quarterly target. Then you might pivot to being transformational to launch next year's vision, all while you're maintaining a servant leader mindset and using adaptive skills to navigate some sudden shift in the market. Because in the end, leadership is a practice, not a position. It's a set of skills that you actively have to work on and cultivate. So as you think about everything we've covered, the final question isn't which type of leader you are today, but what's the very next play you're going to practice and add to your own personal leadership playbook. Thanks for joining us.